My name is Aiden. I'm 32 years old. And until recently, everyone in my family thought they knew exactly who I was. Quiet, compliant, the good son, the emotional crutch everyone leaned on. Especially when my younger brother, Tyler, lit another fire they expected me to extinguish. I was the kid who always showed up, the adult who never argued, the relative who kept the peace. But the truth? That wasn't who I really was. Not anymore. For most of my life, I played the role. I didn't rock the boat. I said yes when I wanted to say no. I put up with being overlooked, dismissed, used like a tool, and discarded the second my usefulness expired. I was the backup plan in case someone else's disaster spiraled out of control. And when it came to my brother, Tyler, that happened more often than not. Tyler is 3 years younger than me, and he's always been the type of person who thrives on performance. Flashy, charismatic, with the kind of confidence that makes people forget to ask questions. If he told you he had a business deal lined up, you'd believe him. If he asked to borrow money for a once-in-a-lifetime investment, you'd probably hand it over before you realized he didn't even tell you what the investment was. That's Tyler. And for most of his life, he got away with everything. Mom bailed him out more times than I can count. When he took out a credit card in her name and racked up thousands. She said he was just going through a phase. When he totaled a borrowed car and walked away without a scratch or explanation. She said it wasn't worth ruining his future over. Meanwhile, I was expected to be the stable one. The fallback. I was the one who got the 2 a.m. phone calls. The one who loaned rent money. The one who gave rides, who said, "I understand," even when I didn't. But all of that changed the day my grandfather's will was read. That was the day I stopped being the quiet one. That was the day I woke up. 2 years ago, my grandfather passed away. My grandmother had died the year prior, and the grief hit me harder than I expected. We were close, closer than anyone else in the family really knew. While everyone else called once every few weeks, maybe sent a card for birthdays, I was there. I handled their groceries. I sat with Grandpa during his chemo sessions. I was the one who held Grandma's hand when her memory started slipping and the one who sorted through her medication when it got too complicated. No one else even offered. So when the will was read, I wasn't surprised that they left everything to me. Not a portion. Not a split. Everything. The estate wasn't enormous by billionaire standards, but it was significant. Just under $900,000 in value when you accounted for the savings, the investments, and the house. A stunning old Victorian with deep red brick, stained glass windows, original wood floors, and ivy trailing up the sides like nature's embroidery. It looked like something out of a period film. The house alone sat in a neighborhood that had exploded in value in the last decade. Developers kept trying to buy the property, but my grandparents never sold. It was the pride of their lives. And now it was mine. But the moment my name was read out, only my name, I saw it. The look on my mother's face, that blend of stunned silence, clenched resentment, and something else, something meaner, like she'd just been cheated, robbed, as though I had somehow stolen something that was never meant to be mine. That was the moment I knew. The storm was coming. I didn't move into the house immediately. I kept my small apartment across town, kept working my normal job, kept showing up like nothing had changed. But behind the scenes, I was busy. I had the house professionally appraised. I called an estate lawyer. I spoke to a trust manager. I made moves, not just cautious ones, but calculated ones. I placed the entire estate, home, savings, investments, into an irrevocable trust with myself as trustee. Not under my personal name, not in a way that could be confused or manipulated. The house title was restructured. The utilities were changed. I even had the taxes and maintenance routed through a separate LLC under the trust's name. It was airtight. And I told no one, because I knew them. I knew what they were capable of. Tyler didn't understand the meaning of boundaries, and Mom had a habit of using guilt like a weapon. So I let them believe I hadn't done anything smart. I let them assume I was just sitting on a crumbling inheritance. Oblivious. I wanted them to get comfortable underestimating me. And they did. First, things were quiet. Suspiciously so. Tyler texted a few times asking if he could use the pool. The house doesn't even have one. Mom started dropping not-so-subtle hints about how Grandpa probably wanted everyone to benefit. "Your brother was always his favorite," she'd say, as if that meant he deserved a chunk. I didn't argue. I smiled. I nodded. I played dumb. Then, about a month ago, Tyler started posting cryptic things on social media. Next chapter loading. Big moves coming soon. Family first always. It was all vague enough to dismiss. But I knew something was brewing. And I was right. It was a Saturday. I was at the house, trimming hedges, sweeping the porch, just doing some casual upkeep. That's when I heard the car pull into the driveway. It was Mom's. Tyler hopped out first, dressed like he was going to a club rather than pulling a home invasion. Mom followed, holding a clipboard. Both of them were smiling like they'd already won something. "Hey, man," Tyler said, clapping me on the shoulder like we were old pals. "We've got some news." I didn't say anything, just raised an eyebrow. Mom stepped forward, all sugary sweet. "We spoke to a lawyer," she said. "It turns out there was an issue with Grandpa's will. Technically, he made a mistake not updating it after Grandma passed. But don't worry, we handled it." I didn't blink. "Handled what, exactly?" Tyler pulled a folded piece of paper out of his pocket and waved it like a winning lottery ticket. "We had the house title transferred. To me. It's already done. You'll need to be out by Friday. But no hard feelings, right?" I just looked at them, smiling, calm. "You really think I'd let that happen?" I asked, voice steady. Tyler laughed like I was telling a joke. "Dude, it's already happening." Mom added gently, "This is for the best, Aiden. Tyler can flip the house. You don't even live here full time. It's practical." I didn't argue. I nodded. "Got it." 2 days later, they came back. This time with a moving truck and 2 hired movers. But I was ready. As they pulled up, laughing and shouting like they were moving into a beach house, they finally looked up and saw me standing on the porch. Not alone. Beside me was a man in a navy suit, neatly pressed, holding a folder marked with the trust's official name, a badge clipped to his belt. His presence was quiet, but it filled the entire space. "Mr. Tyler Green?" the suited man asked. Tyler stepped out, suddenly less cocky. Yeah. Who's asking?" The man held out his badge. "I'm with the County Office of Property Records. I'm here on behalf of the legal trustee of the East Thornhill Estate. That's this property," he added, pointing to the house behind us. "Any claims of transfer or ownership after April of last year are not only invalid, but criminally fraudulent. That includes yours." Tyler's face lost all color. "Fraudulent," he muttered. Mom jumped in. "This must be a mistake. The old deed was in Grandpa's name. We assumed." I cut her off. "You assumed wrong. The house is owned by a trust. You didn't find it because it's not in my personal name." The man in the suit nodded. "And we've already filed a fraud report. Given that you arrived with movers and attempted a forced eviction, we're moving forward with enforcement." Tyler looked stunned. "Enforcement?" I stepped forward. "It means if you set 1 foot on this property again without permission, you'll be trespassing. And if you try another fake transfer, you're facing real charges." They left. But it wasn't over. 3 days later, I got a letter from my mother's lawyer. She was suing me for emotional distress, demanding $150,000 in compensation, joint ownership of the family home, and a monthly allowance. Until further notice. I held the paper in my hands, stunned. Then the numbness turned to anger, because they weren't just greedy. They were declaring war. And now, so was I. The letter sat on my desk for hours before I touched it again. Not because I didn't believe what it said, but because I did. Every single word. Every dollar amount. Every accusation. My own mother, my own flesh and blood, had lawyered up and demanded I compensate her for her emotional distress. For the anguish of not inheriting the house she never cared for. For the pain of watching her golden child fail to swindle his way into something built on decency, legacy, and care. She wanted $150,000 in cash, joint ownership of the house she tried to steal, and an open-ended monthly allowance. The entitlement oozed off the page like something rotting in the sun. But what hit hardest wasn't the demands, it was the tone. Cold, clinical, like this was a business negotiation. Like she hadn't tried to bulldoze me with forged paperwork and fake sympathy just days before. Like I owed her something for keeping her hands clean while her son tried to rob me blind. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I sat perfectly still. Then I picked up my phone and made a single call to Sonia Cruz, the estate attorney I had hired to secure the trust. By the time I finished reading the letter aloud, Sonia was already making a list. "We're going on offense now," she said. "They want war? Fine. But we play by the rules, and we bury them with the truth." Sonia was a quiet force of nature. No theatrics, no fluff, just strategy and law sharpened to a scalpel's edge. She'd already helped me bulletproof the trust, but now we were talking about something else. Defense, offense, documentation, and escalation. We began assembling everything. The trust documents. A copy of the forged title transfer. The note Tyler left on my door. A pathetic attempt at intimidation. Screenshots of Tyler's social media countdowns. Voicemails from Mom, alternating between sweet guilt trips and backhanded threats. The lawyer's demand letter, complete with that absurd list of reasonable reparations. By the time we were done, we had a 58-page PDF organized by date, event, and violation. A timeline of entitlement. A roadmap of malice. But Sonia didn't stop there. She looped in a contact of hers in the county DA's fraud unit. Turns out that title mill Tyler used to fake the house transfer had already been flagged in other property scams. And with Tyler's submission now officially under investigation, thanks to Sonia, it became clear. Tyler wasn't just reckless. He was a liability. I didn't tell them that I let them stew. Let them think the silence was me breaking. And just when I thought things couldn't get uglier, the smear campaign started. It was my cousin Megan who warned me first. We hadn't talked in years, more out of distance than drama. But she reached out with a Facebook message. "Hey, I don't know what's going on, but your mom's been calling people, saying some pretty heavy stuff. Mind if we talk?" We met the next morning. Megan wasn't one for theatrics. She brought receipts, voicemails from Mom, group chats, screen-recorded phone calls, all spreading one story, that I had manipulated Grandpa in his final years, that I'd forced him to change the will while he was mentally declining, that I'd taken advantage of him emotionally and legally. "She's making you out to be a predator," Megan said bluntly, sliding her phone across the table. "And she's calling everyone." I felt physically sick. My throat went dry, and for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to grief. Not for the house, not even for the money. For the family I had tried for so long to believe still existed. But that fantasy was gone. What I had now was war. The next 72 hours I barely slept. I went back through old files, old text chains, birthday voicemails Grandpa had left me, handwritten notes he used to tuck into envelopes with savings bonds, and the video, a short, blurry clip from 6 months before he passed. We were sitting in the living room, surrounded by paperwork and cookies, and he was talking about the trust, about the house, about me. "Don't let anyone guilt you out of what we're giving you, Aiden," he said, voice steady even in his fragile frame. "You earned this, not just by being here, but by being you." It wasn't a will. It wasn't a legal document. But it was truth. And it was enough. Sonia and I composed a family declaration, a clean, easy-to-read PDF summarizing the situation. No anger, no venom, just facts, labeled exhibits, evidence. Every forgery, every voicemail, every manipulated claim, and yes, the video of Grandpa, clear as day, affirming his wishes. I attached it to an email. "Hi, I know a lot has been said. Before you decide where you stand, I want you to see the facts. This isn't gossip. It's evidence. After this, I won't be discussing it again. If you believe me, great. If not, that's your choice. But I won't let lies go unanswered." I hit send. To 27 relatives. The fallout was immediate. By evening, I had 6 emails back. Some full of shock. Some apologetic. Some admitting they'd believed Mom at first, and now felt sick about it. My Aunt Robin called me, crying. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I'm so sorry, Aiden. I didn't ask for forgiveness. I just thanked her for listening. But of course, not everyone responded that way. 3 relatives replied with condescension and doubt. You're manipulating the story, one of them said. Looks like a one-sided account. I didn't bother replying. I knew I wouldn't win them all. And frankly, I didn't need to. Tyler is being charged, she said calmly. Forgery, fraudulent conveyance, attempted unlawful eviction. He wasn't going to jail. Not yet. But he was officially under criminal investigation, with a permanent mark on his record and a mountain of legal fees waiting to bury him. The trust? Untouched. Unshakable. The house? Still mine. My reputation? Restored. And my mother? Her silence was deafening. For the first time in my life, she couldn't guilt me, couldn't manipulate me, couldn't spin her story fast enough to stay ahead of the facts. She lost. Not because I screamed louder, but because I played smarter. And because I had finally stopped being their safety net and let them hit the ground. I still visit the house every weekend. I've hired someone to help with upkeep now. Sometimes I sit on the porch with a coffee, the same spot where Grandpa used to watch the neighborhood. And I think about the storm that passed. Not just the legal chaos, but the storm inside me, the part that used to crave peace at any cost. It's gone. Replaced by something quieter, stronger, clarity. They thought I was weak. They thought I'd fold. They thought I'd sacrifice my future just to keep the family peace. They were wrong. And now they know exactly who they were dealing with all along.